Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to install a Micro Swiss Mark X Hotend kit into a Qidi X-One 2. This upgrade will let you print with abrasive filaments and like nylon X and those tougher filaments that would normally tear up a brass hotend. So before we get started, I just wanted to make note that you do have to buy the entire kit that comes with the aluminum tube and the steel tip. Don't try to mix and match steel tips, because normal steel tips are designed to hold a Teflon tube and not be coupled with the Mark X hotend kit. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is get the extruder off of the transport setup. And to do that, we need to take out 3 screws. One of them is right here. The other one is right here, which we can't quite get to until we take off a third one, which is holding this air vent on. And we'll look at that right now. It's that one right there. Right there. So starting with the air vent, take that one off, and then you'll be able to take these other 2 on the direct bottom. Okay, now that I just removed the screws for the air vent right here and the 2 screws underneath here and here, we can pull off the extruder and move it off to the side. So let's just lift it out. Okay, so here's the extruder just hanging free now. And we need to get this big housing off of it, so we need to take about 5 more screws off. We're going to take this big long one off here, right on the back. We're going to take these 2 off of the fan, and then once those 2 are off, we're going to get these other 2 right here and here. I don't know if you can see that second one, but it's got the fan covering it. So let's take those off. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so we just took off 5 more screws. There, and then these 2 right here. It looks like I forgot one on the back here. We need to take that one out too, so we'll do that now. And now we're able to take off the housing. We'll set this piece off to the side, and there, the cover comes right off, just like that. Now we just need to take off 2 more screws on this fan, here and here, and that'll give us access to the block. Okay, with these 2 screws up here and here loosened up, we're just going to pull the fan and the heat sink up through the block, and we'll set that there. That might fall apart there, so keep an eye on it. It should be okay. And now we can see the where the filament comes down. There's our lever. It comes out of that little hole right there. I don't know if you can see that little hole there. And it goes in there. You'll notice I've already taken out my my tip. I actually installed the Mark X aluminum tube in already, but I just wanted to show you how it's done. So some people they put in one of these little Allen wrenches here that they give you as leverage, and then with your needle nose they just kind of pry it open that way. And when you're pulling your old tip out, you might see the Teflon tubing in there. After you pull your tip out, you can just use the needle nose and pull that out. So, and last but not least, in order to get to the tube, we need to undo a set screw that's right in here, right lined up with the tube. So let's get in there and get that. Let me see. Okay. So that's out of the way. This should slide right off. And there it is. When you're taking the old tube off, this is actually the new one here, but when you're taking the old one off, you can use the same technique. You put the Allen wrench in there for leverage, and then use some needle nose and unscrew it that way. So most of the instructions for putting the new tip in there wants you to screw the tip all the way in first. You don't put the aluminum part in yet, and you're going to screw it all the way in, and then you're going to back it off by about a half a turn. We're going to take our aluminum tube and we're going to screw it in as far as it'll go. So when you get the aluminum tube all the way in, you want to apply some thermal grease to it. Your kit may have come with some, mine did not. I happen to have some. So you're just going to apply it evenly all the way around. So you can use it to spread it. Okay, with the thermal grease on, you want to take the aluminum block and just slide it on like so. And what you want is that these two holes here and here, you're going to look through them and you're going to want to line them up with the two holes on the stepper motor that feeds the filament through. So you want to make sure that the space is just right. And once you're happy with that, you know that's where you want it. You want to put that set screw back in. Okay, it's important to note, before you tighten the set screw behind the aluminum tube, keep in mind that you want the aluminum block to go into the holes there, but you also want to give yourself enough room for the top of the tube to hit where the filament's going to come out. So your placement along this tube may vary, and you know the important thing is you want your tip to be flush with the block, because that's what's going to heat it, and you want this to be able to line up properly so that you can get the screws back in there. So once you get it dialed in exactly where everything's gonna fit, that's where you want to put the set screw in. Okay, so now you got everything dialed in where you want it. You're gonna line this up where it needs to go, and you're gonna take the fan and the heat sink, and you're gonna put those two screws through the aluminum block, and underneath you're gonna have them stick out just a little bit. You're going to want those to go in these two holes right here. Okay, now that those are in, we can tighten those up. Okay, now we got to get this monster back together. So first thing we're going to do is take the fan mounting bracket, and we're going to put it back on right here. Now once those two are on, we can put the fan itself back into place. Okay, now that the fan's put back on, we're ready to put the housing on and get this sucker back into place. And then once it's back up on the transport system, we'll put the fan or the air vent on there. So we're going to use the two screws to put this one back on, the big long one that went in there, and then the little black one that went on the back side right here, and that's gonna go right there. Okay, getting the housing to go back on is a little wonky, so I thought I'd show how I did it. The split area here, once you feed this big bundle of cable through there, you just want to slide it down so that the split area is going to go on either side of the aluminum block. So let me just finagle that in there, and now we can put in the little black screw on this side and the much longer screw right into there. So let's do that. Okay, so now we're ready to put it right back on the transport stuff. Okay, when we put it back in, we're just going to put it back in the same way we got it out, with with these two holes here on the aluminum block lining up with the two holes on the transport. So it'll just pop right in there. Okay, so let's get this thing positioned where it needs to be. Okay, so now we're ready to put the little air vent back on. And you'll notice on the air vent there's two little holes. I can get it in the light there. One of them is for the screw and the other is for a little tab that's sticking out right next to where the screw is going to be. You want that tab to go into the little hole when you snap it in place. So it's going to go in, and you almost got to pry it into place. I got you. There it goes. Okay, I think I got it. It's close. So when you get it in place, the little tab will go into that little hole there. Now we can put the screw in. Okay, so that wraps it up. Now that everything's put together, the last thing you want to do to get this tip tightened is you want to go to the menu and you want to preheat it. And then once it's preheated, you can use the little wrench and get it tightened back on. Don't forget to re-level your platform once you get the new print head in there, because mine was the bed was quite a bit lower with the older head. So make sure you do that. That's it. Bye.